I'm going to tell you a little story about sunchokes. And if you're new here, my name is Marion Spurgeon, and I am a hypnotist. And that means that I work with the subconscious mind. And the language of the subconscious mind is stories and symbols and colors and feelings and sensations. And I am also a seer. My mind puts images together in interesting and pertinent stories. This is not a story that I made up in order to change your mind. This is a story that really happened to me. I don't know if you even know what a sunchoke is. This is a little tuber, and it is a member of the sunflower family. If you know anything about the sunflower is the national flower of Ukraine because it remediates the soil. It can be used to clear up radioactivity. So it's a very beneficial plant. It's a very tough plant, and it's hard to get rid of once you have it established. This particular sunchoke was selectively bred by Native Americans in North America before we had other kinds of starches like potatoes, which came from South America. People relied on sunchokes for carbs. And one of the things that was really useful about this tuber is that you can plant it in the ground and let it just stay over years. If you had a nomadic lifestyle or you traveled from place to place, you could plant a stand of this crop and it would be there for you and it would just take care of itself. It would bloom and grow. So this is a very optimistic plant. There's a lot to love about it. And the first year I harvested it, I had a really good harvest. My neighbor sprayed it with Roundup because he thought it was weeds. Now, weeds is a very subjective thing. Well, one person's weed is another person's food crop. And that, it felt like it hurt. Like it hurt me that happened. Like Roundup is a way of eradicating difference. And we overuse Roundup on everything. Roundup actually kind of reminds me of deportation now that I think about it. Monsanto, the company that produces Roundup, has such a bad name that one time I went out with a chemist for Monsanto, and he didn't tell me that he worked for Monsanto because he was so afraid that would be a problem for me. It was a problem for me, in case you were wondering. Not necessarily that he was a chemist for Roundup, but the fact that he had to hide it. But anyway, I digress. So somebody came in and crushed my optimism. He blanketed it with this kind of violent, authoritarian chemical action that just wiped my food source out. And I thought about whether to take legal action, and I decided that my relationship with my neighbor is worth more to me. But I did make sure that he understood that it was not okay and that he was sorry and that he wasn't going to do it again. There were a number of positive things that came out of that traumatic experience. One is, and I got an opportunity to stand up to my neighbor and assert myself and to educate him about the value of the plant, to offer him a different perspective, a different paradigm than he operates in for the care of his own lawn. And I probably got to highlight a little bit of misogyny that was at play, that he thought that he could make that decision for me without talking to me, right? So that was learning experience number one that was facilitated by this sacred plant. Learning experience number two was like in the process of talking about it to kind of try to figure out how to recover from this trauma of being harmed by my neighbor. I reached out to the community, to the permaculture group, and one of my friends offered that I could harvest her sunchokes. So I got an opportunity to go over to her house, to dig her sunchokes, to talk to her, to catch up with her, to get in touch with feelings, and to actually process some emotions that were coming up around the political climate. And that was actually very healing as well. And I got to reflect on the fact that we're all connected to each other, and we're all connected to the earth, and no one can do everything alone, and no one has to do everything alone. And sometimes the experience of needing help and asking for help is itself a gift, because asking for help allows others the opportunity to help you. Giving help is actually really satisfying and rewarding, and also allows others to feel like they can ask for help as well. And we all have different skill sets, we all have different needs, and we all have different concerns. And the roundup model kind of makes it so that we are reliant upon corporations to supply us with harmful inputs that require constant application. And so we are not self-sufficient. We are not connected to each other. We're very atomized, isolated, and reliant upon that destructive system. Whereas when we are in the Sunchoke model, we are connected to the earth. We are stable. We are secure. We are so resilient. I want to tell you, those sunchokes that he sprayed did not die. I hosed them off with water. They came up again. They're going to come up strongly this year. There's going to be a lot more of them than there were last year. As the extension office told me, sunchokes are almost impossible to kill. But once they're there, they're actually much stronger, and they work in harmony with the environment much better than Roundup does, right? These are actually stronger than Roundup. They cannot be killed unless you really wanted to dig every single one of them out. The sunchokes will prevail even if there are any temporary setbacks, because they're good for each other, they're good for the community, and they're good for the earth. Anything that satisfies those checkpoints are going to win out and every time, because you can't eat money. You can't eat money. You can buy things with money to eat, but you cannot take that paper and eat it. So that is my little exploration of sunchokes and democracy. Thanks for listening.